Bloomberg Nanos is reporting that inflation has driven consumer confidence to crisis-era lows. And the question on many Canadians' minds is there a recession coming in 2022? And I think the answer is we're already there. We're already in a recession. We just don't know it yet. The definitive guide on how to manage your credit. Product, penalty, price, in that order. It's never been more important to get your mortgage right. All right, so welcome back. Today we're discussing consumer confidence in Canada and whether or not we are in a recession. And more than likely, the truth is we're probably already in a recession. If not in Canada, at least with certainty in North America, as we see stock market prices plummet and the economy just as a whole start its struggles, especially when you look at jobs and the obvious things that are happening in the real estate industry. But before we get into all the details, do me that favor, hit that subscribe button, hit that notification bell, and please hit that like button so more people like you can see this video. And don't forget about our Race to 25,000 subscribers contest. On July 1st, we're giving away $5,000 to one lucky winner. In order to enter that contest, you need to be subscribed to this channel and you need to go to 360giveaway.ca to enter officially. By the way, you get an extra entry if you follow me on Instagram and if you share the contest socially. Okay, so let's get into it. Let's discuss the economy and the recession. If it's not in Canada, it is at least coming in North America with certainty. And at the end of this video, I'm going to give you 3 things that you can do in order to recession-proof your personal finances. But let's jump in first and foremost to some of the details of what's going on. Because here's the reality. We are likely in a recession already. It's just not official. What's an official recession? It's when you have 2 consecutive quarters of negative GDP growth. And we're starting to see Canadian GDP numbers go down. We saw that in April. And as interest rates continue to increase, we're probably going to see less and less growth in the economy. The stock market has already started to crash. We've seen the S&P down 10 of the last 11 weeks. The Nasdaq is down 30% with the median stock down 70%. So the Nasdaq, the technology-based stocks are suffering. We're also seeing technology-based jobs, especially in Canada, start to be eliminated as those high-tech companies start to realize that there's less capital available for them to continue to hire people, and they're having to right-size the ships in order to turn the focus towards profitability. And many of the best technology stocks in the world are suffering. Apple's down 25%, Google's down 23%. Amazon is down 35%. Netflix is down an astonishing 70%. This is one of the pandemic babies that was just absolutely cruising along, and its market value has pretty much tanked as people come out of their houses and start to do things outside. We've also seen in cryptocurrencies 2/3 of the value basically be wiped out of most cryptocurrencies in the last several months. And I can tell you from a mortgage and financing perspective, credit markets are starting to dry up with new applications down significantly from last year. Of course, inflation has hit 7.7% in Canada. It's even higher in the US. Oil prices are up significantly with no real sign of demand destruction in sight in the near future, especially what's going on with the Russia-Ukraine war. And like I said earlier, tech jobs are getting cut pretty much across the board, with many of Canada's most promising tech companies cutting 70 to 80% of the jobs that they had recently just hired. And there's good reason for that. When credit starts to dry up, when cheap money starts to dry up, companies tend to right size and they start to eliminate jobs first and foremost before they do anything else, because that is the single fastest way for companies to save money and make themselves more profitable. It's also an early warning sign of a recession that is imminent. Now, on top of all of this, the monetary base in Canada has been slashed by about 1/3. This is after it was increased 5-fold during the pandemic. So now we've seen 1/3 of the monetary base basically slashed in a matter of 2 or 3 months. And all the extra money that people were holding has pretty much been released into the economy and is being spent frivolously as people start to spend money on wants and travel and things that they probably shouldn't be spending their money on, given that we are entering a recessionary period. And now we've got our central banks pretty much sucking money out of the economy as fast as they put it in. And here's the thing, people are looking at their stock portfolios right now, realizing that their asset values have pretty much been cut by 30 to 40% in the last 6 months. And not realizing that the stock market is typically a lag indicator. So it happens after the trouble has already started. And there's an old adage that goes to say that there's 3 types of people in the world. There's those that make things happen, there's those that watch things happen, and there's those that wondered what the heck happened. But there's also a 4th type of person in an economy like this, because many of the biggest companies in the world were started in recessionary periods by this 4th type of person. And that is the type of person who anticipates and takes action early. economy. And like I said, in a minute or two, I'm going to give you 3 things that you can do to bulletproof your personal finances. But before I do, I want to talk about how you can be certain that a recession is coming and that you actually do need to prepare. So first and foremost, there's 6 dominoes that essentially cause an economy to either thrive or collapse. And those dominoes are this. First is access to easy capital. The second is business growth as a result of the access to that easy capital. The third is the jobs that are either supplied or retracted as a result of the business growth. The fourth is the overall results that happen in the stock market well after jobs have been cut or added. Then there's consumer sentiment and what happens in the real estate market. Now, what's really interesting is usually it goes in that order. Capital either gets increased or decreased. Businesses either then begin to grow or collapse. They hire accordingly as a result. And then we get what happens in the stock market as a lag indicator of everything that's happened as a result of either higher or lower interest rates and that easy access or harder access to capital. And then we get what happens with consumer sentiment and real estate. Now, in the current market, at least in Canada, consumer sentiment and real estate, typically we see negative consumer sentiment and then a reduction in the housing prices. But this time around, it seems like the market is acting in advance of the negative consumer sentiment, and we're seeing real estate prices start to fall sooner than they normally would. But the reality of it is this, is we're seeing lower real estate prices, which is typically the last domino to fall in an economy. And we're also seeing that consumer sentiment start to go down. And the proof of that is in the recent BNN Bloomberg article, where they discuss the fact that consumer sentiment has hit crisis era lows. And what that tells us is that we need to be preparing for the recession, because if consumer sentiment is low, even though we aren't officially in a recession, you can guarantee that we're about to get there, because consumer sentiment often leads to a self-fulfilling prophecy, which means unless something really good happens in the economy in the next month or two, we're going to hit those recession numbers and we're going to be in that negative GDP growth for at least 2 quarters. So the signs of a recession are here. The question is, what should you do to bulletproof your personal finances? Well, first and foremost, you need to get your debt picture right. So in other words, if you've got credit card debt, unsecured lines of credit, or car loans, you need to start eliminating as much of that as possible. And if you can eliminate some of your mortgage debt, it's probably not a bad idea to do that as well, although that one tends to be harder. By the way, one thing that we do recommend looking at is if you have equity in your home and you've got that credit card, that car debt, and that unsecured line of credit debt, we definitely recommend looking at rolling that into your mortgage so that it's all in one place at as low of an interest rate as you can possibly get. Basically, what we're going to do is we're going to take your payment obligations and we're going to make them as small as possible by rolling them into that mortgage. The second thing you need to start doing is start hoarding cash. You know the old adage, pay yourself first? Well, forget pay yourself first. What you need to do is you need to start keeping some of your money, and you need to stop letting other people, businesses, and entities take it from you. So stop spending your money on the frivolous goods, the things you don't need, the $70,000 car when you can get by with a $20,000 car. You need to start keeping as much of your money as possible, and you need to start building a portfolio of assets, preferably liquid assets. So the simplest way to do this is by buying something like an ETF that tracks the S&P 500. By the way, you can do this with Questrade. You can purchase ETFs for free through Questrade. There's a link in the description below that will also get you $50 worth of free trades. I highly recommend that you will do this and that you continue to buy as many shares as possible and basically ignore the value of those shares. All you're going to do is you're going to try to collect as many as possible over the next year to 2 years to 3 years as we enter and exit this recession, because things like S&P 500 ETFs are going to get significantly cheaper. And if you can buy them as they go down and as they come back up, and buy some at the very bottom because you're buying consistently over time, well, you'll probably do really, really well in collecting a very nice base of assets. And if something happens like a job loss, well, you can go ahead and you can redeem those shares and use them in order to supplement your income while you look for a new job. And here's the third and final, and in my opinion, the most important thing you should be doing as we enter a recession. And that is to invest in yourself by doing one of several things. The first, and obviously the easiest, is to make yourself indispensable at your job. Work harder, work longer hours, and do as much as you can to make yourself more valuable than the next employee. So if your company does have to do something like terminate jobs, you aren't going to be on the chopping block. It's also a good time to start upgrading your skills. Make yourself more valuable to your employer or prospective employers by getting more education. And there's this old adage that you should invest at least 10% of what you earn in investments. Well, I also believe that you should invest at least 10% of what you earn in yourself. And if you can invest in training in yourself and making yourself more marketable so you can earn more of an income, that will have more payoff than any investment you could possibly make in the stock market, in real estate, or anything else. So the reality is this: you're in a recession and you have the opportunity now to anticipate it and take action in this moment. And I sincerely hope that you will. And if you found this video useful, do me that favor, hit that subscribe button, hit that notification bell, and please hit that like button so more people like you can see this video. Don't forget about our Race to 25,000 subscribers contest, and we'll see you on the very next one. Cheers.